All right, today we are diving into some source material that proposes a pretty radical idea. What if UFOs don't travel through space at all? What if they travel through consciousness? I know, it's a big concept, and it challenges pretty much everything we think we know about reality. So let's break down how this might actually work. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the familiar idea of flying saucers, but we're going to move past that real quick. Then we'll explore this wild connection to consciousness, the physics of how it could all work, how it links to abilities we all might have, and then wrap it all up with what it could mean for our future.
Okay, let's just jump right in. The first thing we have to do is challenge what we think we know, because the simple image of a nuts and bolts flying saucer zipping between stars, it just doesn't line up with the evidence.
Here is the absolute heart of the problem. We have countless reports from military pilots and radar operators of objects doing things that are just impossible. We're talking maneuvers that would generate thousands of G-forces. That's enough to turn any pilot into jelly and shred any aircraft we've ever built. It completely bricks our laws of physics. So what are we missing? And look, these are not just strange stories. These are documented cases from military and FAA radar systems. They show objects that don't engage in linear travel. They're not flying from point A to point B. They're here 1 second, and then they're instantly hundreds of miles away the next. That's not travel as we know it. That is something else entirely. And this leads us to a really crucial insight. Trying to explain these events with our current understanding of physics is like trying to explain a smartphone to Thomas Jefferson. He just wouldn't have the framework for it. The observations are real. It's our scientific paradigm that's maybe a little too small. So if the old model is broken, what's the alternative? Well, the source material we're looking at puts forward a whole new framework, and it connects advanced physics with something you probably wouldn't expect: consciousness. The source even gives it a name, TDIS, or Transdimensional Interstellar. The core idea is that these civilizations aren't battling the vast distances of space. They're just sidestepping them. They drop out of our linear spacetime and then pop back in somewhere else. Now, this might sound pretty out there, but listen to this quote from Erwin Schrödinger, one of the founders of quantum mechanics. He's pointing to this core concept of a singularity of mind. The theory suggests consciousness isn't just a byproduct of our brain. It's a fundamental non-local field that connects everything, everywhere. And, this isn't just some fringe theory. According to the source, the folks on the inside, people in top-secret aerospace and intelligence agencies, they have their own, let's say, candid terms for this science. They call it magic, because from our public, conventional point of view, that's exactly what it looks like. So, okay, if it's not conventional flight, how does an object just disappear? Let's get into the mechanics of it, at least as they're laid out in the source material. It's described as this 4-step process. You create a very specific high-voltage field, and you tune it to just the right frequency. When you do that, the object's mass can actually be made to approach zero. And think about it. What happens when something has zero mass? Well, it's not really bound by our dimension anymore. It can effectively vanish and move outside of linear space and time. So here you can see the two ways of thinking, side by side. Our conventional model is limited by the speed of light. But in this transdimensional model, travel isn't about speed. It's non-local, maybe even instantaneous. And communication? It's not radio waves anymore. It's coherent, directed thought, a total game changer. But here's where it gets really personal. According to the source, this science isn't just for some advanced craft from another star system. It's deeply, deeply connected to a potential that exists inside every single one of us. And that raises the fundamental question, right? Is this power something that only belongs to advanced technology from out there? Or is it an innate ability that we all have in here? Well, the source material argues pretty strongly that it's the second one. The source suggests that things like lucid dreaming, that gut feeling of intuition, or even moments of precognition, these aren't just weird quirks of the mind. They are real examples of our consciousness tapping into that same non-local, transdimensional field. It's an ability that's just part of being human. And this leads to this concept called the C5 initiative, a close encounter of the fifth kind. See, this isn't about sitting around and waiting for contact. It's about humans actively using our own disciplined consciousness to initiate that contact, to interface with these civilizations on our own terms. And there's actually some scientific data that seems to point in this direction. Research at Princeton's Peer Lab showed that human intention could measurably affect machines. But here's the really wild part. When two people who had a strong emotional bond focused together, the effect wasn't just doubled, it was exponentially greater. Okay, this all brings us to our final section, and this is where the implications of all this become absolutely earth-shattering. What if this technology isn't just some future possibility, but a hidden reality from our past?
Take a look at this quote, cited in the source. This comes from Ben Rich, the guy who ran Lockheed Skunk Works, the most secret, advanced aerospace division on Earth. He apparently claimed, right before he died, that this technology isn't something we need to invent, it's something we've already figured out.
And according to the source, this tech has a whole hidden history. It goes back to early German experiments in the 20s, to the idea that Roswell was actually an accidental downing from one of our own new weapon systems, all the way to the claim that mastery of gravity control was achieved way, way back in 1954. Just let that sink in for a minute. If any of these claims are true, this isn't some new discovery. We are talking about a world-changing technology that has been kept under wraps for more than 70 years. And the implications of that are just staggering. If humanity mastered gravity control and a new source of energy back in the 50s, then our entire global infrastructure, fossil fuels, combustion engines, rockets, it's all been fundamentally obsolete for generations. And that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this source material. The secrecy around this whole topic? Maybe it's not just about hiding UFOs. Maybe it's about holding back a completely different path for human civilization, one with limitless clean energy and the ability to travel among the stars. And so that leaves us with this final pivotal question. If this science is real and it's been suppressed all this time, what does our world look like the day it finally comes out? What changes? Who do we become? That's really something to think about.